Saturday marks the 10th anniversary of the Huffington Post. And of course, the Huffington Post was one of the first major outlets to give bloggers a bigger stage to get their voices heard. Now today, in honor of our milestone, we're going to take a look back at some of our biggest blogs of the last decade. Blogs that together were shared over 600,000 times and viewed by millions. So you wrote a working mother's plea to the president in 2014. What was the message that you wanted to send in that piece?
I wrote this the night before I returned to work after having my fourth baby. I had 4 children in 7 years, and nothing in my life compared to the pain I experienced when I passed over not just a baby, but a newborn. And I didn't think I'd need to return to work. And so the weekend was upon me, and here it is Sunday, and I'm supposed to go back to teaching the next day. And I was sobbing. I was beside myself. And so I sat down and I wrote this piece, also thinking of the hundreds of thousands of other working mothers that go through the same thing every single day. And I didn't think it would get the attention that it did. After I submitted it as a writer, I'm like, I didn't even really revise it and review things. I just wrote strictly from the heart. And days after this was published, I received tens of thousands of messages and emails from working mothers all around the world. And it was amazing to hear that so many different countries provide this paid leave for their mothers. They value that time.
Now, Kelly, you wrote Surviving Whole Foods in 2013. And there you compared a trip to the store to Vegas. So I got to say, I couldn't stop laughing every time that I was reading this, every time that I've reread this blog. What inspired you to write it?
Well, I grew up in Boulder, Colorado, which is kind of the epicenter of this new counterculture, this green culture, so to speak, that Whole Foods is a big part of. And in that world, people don't brag about how much they make, they brag about how much they compost. So I was coming from this, growing up in this world where people are proud of how small their carbon footprint is, which is wonderful. But I was very aware that while they may not be polluting the world with their cars, some of them are polluting the world with their attitudes of superiority. That just because you don't eat meat or you bike to work doesn't necessarily mean you're better than everyone. So just kind of poking fun at them. I think Whole Foods was overdue for a good roasting, so I was lucky enough to get to give it to them.
Yeah, I think they're definitely roast worthy. And, one of my favorite parts is just at the very top and how you talk about Whole Foods clientele are all about mindfulness and compassion until they get to the parking lot. And there's a pregnant woman, walking with her groceries and her children crossing the sidewalk. And then, some other guy just speeds by in his car and basically honks at her. But of course, his license plate says namaste. And you use the term namaste a lot. Why'd you do that?
Because I think that's kind of their sound bite for this culture is namaste. And it means this beautiful thing, but it's often said in such a condescending way that if you didn't know the actual meaning, you might be able to infer it's something a little more sinister.
All right, Allison, let's move on to you. You wrote The Mom Stays in the Picture in 2012, and you talked about the importance of parents actually being in photographs rather than avoiding them. Why did you write about that?
Well, for years, I'd kind of been noticing my friends who are often gorgeous saying, I don't want to be in the picture. Like, let's just take a picture of the kids. They're cute and they're done, and we're not. And I found myself postpartum with my 4th child at my niece's birthday party, and there was a photo booth, and my little boy came up and said, Mommy can be in the photo booth with me. And my first instinct was to be like, no, I don't want to be. I look not at all put together. I've got a baby sleeping on my chest. I probably had milk running down my shirt. And then I just realized, I think when you have children, especially when you have older children and younger children, you realize exactly how fast the time goes. And there are no do-overs. And I couldn't believe that I was willing to give up a moment with my kid because of my vanity. So I just kind of came home and thought about it a lot. And then I just, put it together and wrote about the moment when I thought about it for my friends before. I'd never really accepted it for myself. And I was like, I'm cheating my kids because I am not, perfect enough for a picture.
All right, Stephanie, you wrote Target's response to calling out their girls' clothing problem, and that was in 2014. So before you wrote this piece, you said that you were just a mom making some observations while you were folding laundry. And what was it that you noticed when that happened?
Well, I wrote a piece first on my own blog that also ran on HuffPost that was called A Target Intervention on Behalf of My Daughters. And in that original post, I had just compared my 2-year-old's laundry to my 5-year-old's laundry. And when I was folding it, I noticed that my 2-year-old's shorts were actually larger than the shorts for my 5-year-old. So the size 2T was bigger than the size 5T. And I was just thinking, what is going on here? And I showed the pictures on my blog, and I was just kind of making an observation and saying, hey, Target, what is up with this? And to my surprise, after that first post, Target's PR team responded to me and they called me, and we talked on the phone a little bit, and they said, well, it's because we allow for the girth of a diaper in the toddler sizes. And they reached out to me. And at that time, they were offering me to talk to a designer, and they offered all of these kind of cool things. And I was like, well, I was really surprised at their response. And I thought, that's really cool that they responded. And another part of me was thinking, come on. I mean, I'm around diapers all the time, and I know the girth of a diaper. I have a master's degree. I'm not an idiot. Like, a diaper's this thick, honestly.